The most common question I get when people find out that we moved to a small farm is, how much time does it take and how do you balance running a farm with having 2 young kids and a successful software business? Well, I'm going to answer that today. I'm Natalie Lucier from Waykeeper Farm and Nerdery and also founder of AccessAlly, which is a WordPress-based plugin for online course creators and coaches. So how do we do it? We have 2 young children under 6. We have a farm with sheep and ducks and chickens, and we also board horses, and we have this giant greenhouse that we're always cultivating. How do we do it, and how much time does it all take? I think the easiest way is to just show you. So here's an average day for my husband and I, and I've kind of gone ahead and done the average of our sleep. So let's say we get about 8 hours of sleep per night. Then let's say we cook, eat, and clean for about 2 hours, and then another 2 hours for leisure every day. We work about 6 hours in our business. And I say that knowing that we end up spending a lot more time thinking about our business than we do actually being productive in our business. So I'm gonna leave it at 6 hours, even though we might try to squeeze more in sometimes. Then we have 1 hour of farm chores. And this might seem like not a lot, but I'm going to explain why it's just 1 hour soon. And finally, we spend about 5 hours a day with our kids. Now this is just an average day where there's school and daycare and not necessarily a weekend. So on a weekend, we might do a lot more farm projects, or we might work a lot less in our business, and that would just be replaced with time with the kids, for example. What you won't find here is us going to the gym or doing a ton of house cleaning. This is very minimum. My house does not get clean very often. We hire someone to clean it for us every 2 weeks, and we barely keep it decent in between that. And then we also don't take any tropical vacations. We're able to stack functions. So what we do is when we're spending time with the kids, we might be doing farm activities too. So let's say we were spending time in the greenhouse with our kids, building things or planting things. They get to learn, they get to hang out with us. We also get to do something that's useful and productive. And at the same time, we're probably working out in one fashion or another. A lot of times our daily chores are very active. It's not sitting in front of our computer, whether we're moving manure or we're setting up extra fencing or anything like that. It tends to be outside and active. So we don't feel like we need a gym membership or to spend a ton of time on additional workouts. So clearly that is a very average day where we're kind of just maintaining the status quo, but there are so many projects. So what about project time? So there are things like building a greenhouse, and that is something that takes a ton of time, and really something that, because we did such a big greenhouse, we ended up hiring that out. So that's not something we did ourselves. It was a full 6 months project. Then we have building things like a chicken coop. So this, on the other hand, is something that we did ourselves. And the reason is that it just made sense based on our skill set, and we basically took time out of the business to work on the coop. So whether that was on the weekends or it was taking actual time off. And I will say one of the hacks that we use to get more work done like this that are project based is that one of us will take the kids, say on a weekend day, and so the other person can do work or projects like these. Then we have things like setting up fencing. So for fencing, if it is an electric fence, then I'm usually the one going out there, setting them up ahead of time as we rotate our sheep. And if it's a permanent fence, then we have hired someone to set up our permanent fencing, but we've also set up some of our own fences as well with some help of our neighbors. Then we have projects like planting trees that are super time sensitive and that need to be done at a specific time. So we have things like planting trees where it needs to be done in spring when we receive our bare root trees, and that tends to be something we do ourselves. We take some time off from work, for example, and just get it all done and to make sure that our trees will actually survive. Now that we've taken a look at the breakdown of the time that we spend on the farm, the business, kids, household chores, and just general work-life balance, let's take a look at why we can handle all of these things in our lives. So the first and probably most important is that AccessAlly has an incredible team of employees, and we are not doing our software business alone. When I first started my business almost 15 years ago, I was a solopreneur. That meant I did everything myself. If it had to be done, I was the one doing it. And soon I realized that that was not super sustainable, so I hired my first virtual assistant. And then over time, I learned a lot more about teams and how to manage things, and my business got more successful. And I was able to get my husband to join the company full time. And it was soon after that that we realized we wanted to start a software company and really go all in with that. And that's how AccessAlly was born. And so now we run an amazing team. We're all virtual all over the US and Canada, and our team kind of fluctuates. We have paid interns, so our numbers go up and down, but the people on our team are why we're able to really do our best work and show up and do the things that we're best at, and also not have to do everything and burn out in our business. So for us, it's always a question of time versus money. It's really easy to think that we always need to do everything ourselves, or that we should hire everything out as well. And what we found is that it's really, really nice if we're able to hire out certain things so we have time to do the daily things and make sure that we're still healthy, still sleeping, still in decent shape, that we can show up for our business and our employees. But also at the same time, if we need to do something that is a project, we can take time off from work and we can really prioritize that too. If it's something that we enjoy doing, so for example, my husband loves carpentry and learning woodworking, and so he has built a ton of things around the farm, and that has saved us a lot of money, saved us a lot of, figuring things out and trying to find people who have these things for sale. And also it's just cool. He gets to learn and explore, and that's part of moving to a farm and learning things as well. Now, another thing I want to share about living on a farm is that there are a lot of season fluctuations. So that means in the winter, maybe we're working just, the bare minimum to keep things going. And then spring, things really pick up because we have lambs, we have tree planting, we have all this stuff to do. And then summer, things level off, but there's still a ton of harvesting and a ton of watering and other stuff that needs to be done to keep everything going. And then fall, maybe things kind of taper off a little bit before they get back to the winter state. Now, beyond the business, we also get a lot of support at home. So our parents, both mine and Robin's parents, come and stay with us for a week at a time or more sometimes, and they help us with the kids or with cooking or just keeping everyone occupied while we're out here building things or working on big projects on the farm or just taking meetings at work too. And of course, there's school and daycare. We could not work full time and run a farm if we were also homeschooling or taking care of our kids full time at home. And I super admire those who are able to do that. I definitely considered homeschooling, but I just realized I do not have the bandwidth to do it all with what we have going on right now. Now, the other thing that I really want to mention is that when we first moved to the farm, we had these super idyllic ideas and plans, and some of them were a little too hard to achieve, and we had these unrealistic expectations. So when we first moved to the farm, we were playing a video game in hard mode. We tried to do everything the best we could. We tried to bring new animals, as quickly as we could on the farm and set up infrastructure as soon as we could. And I have to say, running the farm in hard mode, or our lives in hard mode, was not working. So we decided to go and move into easy mode. And what that meant for us was just realizing we don't have to have all the animals and all the systems and all the structures that we want from day one, but we can layer them on year after year, maybe decade after decade. We still have plenty of time to learn and to appreciate everything there is to do with farming and homesteading. So that was a big permission that we kind of gave ourselves to not try to do everything up front. And, I think this is something that applies to all aspects of life, whether you have a farm that you're trying to balance your chores and the rest of your things with or not. You don't have to do things the hard way, whether that means giving yourself more time to ease into things, to learn, to afford certain things that you need to bring into your farm. All of those things can come with time. So for example, super concrete example, we used just electric fencing, and it was super temporary for our sheep for the first few years, and we just invested in a more permanent setup for our sheep fencing. And if you're curious about that, you can watch that video now. But if you want to find out more about AccessAlly, our software for creating online courses and memberships, then definitely go and check that out as well. Now, another super important thing is that our farm and our homestead is not a business. So that was a decision that was very conscious. We did not want to make this into a whole other revenue stream stream where we had to manage customers and all kinds of more accounting and everything. We have an amazing business already with AccessAlly, and we were not looking to add a whole other operation on top of that. And so that's part of running things in easy mode too. We know that we don't need to make this a monetizable thing. It's not something that we're trying to attract tons of customers for. You know, we do have a website, we do have very basic things set up, and obviously this YouTube channel, but it's just to kind of share the journey and a lot less about trying to make it into a huge business. And that to me means that it stays a fun hobby for us. It's something that we can balance our online time with, so we can go outside and see the animals, take care of them, do our farm chores, but not feel like we're always stuck to our screens. And that makes a big difference to our well-being, as well as just knowing that we're able to provide for our family and just have amazing food too. Now, if you want to find out why we picked dairy sheep or why we have a greenhouse like this one, then go ahead and watch these videos now.